And now up with our first talk of the day on Steam machines, Greg Coomer and Anna Sweet from Valve.
Thanks, Chet. I'm Greg. This is Anna.
Hello.
We've been working on the Steam Machines project for quite a while, since back when it was just beginning, and in those days it was software work, really. It was big picture as a user interface, and it was just starting to be work on controllers and a glimmer in somebody's eye about an operating system. Our roles, my role and Anna's role, I tend to be on the product design side, and Anna tends to be on business development. So like most things at Valve, though, that's pretty fluid, and we kind of overlap and trade those roles, and we do that with the rest of the Steam hardware team as well. You can use us during Steam Dev Days as kind of a conduit to reach out to the rest of the hardware team or the operating system people, and we'll try to connect you with the people who are doing the work that you care about most. We look at everything that we're doing with you today and tomorrow at Steam Dev Days, as Gabe said, really as the beginning of a conversation. So we want this to be a two-way thing. You know, we're up here talking to you about what we're doing with Steam machines, but we look at it as the beginning of a conversation, if we haven't already been having that conversation with you. And we want it to really be as useful as possible. Like everybody else who's been preparing talks for Steam Dev Days, really trying to optimize for information that is usable and going to make you more productive and make you understand things that are going on in 2014 so that you're better able to serve your customers. We've structured our talk today for about an hour. It's going to be mostly comprised of information and questions that we've learned from partners like all of you. We've gotten a lot of questions about the Steam Machines project. We're kind of conducting ourselves in a way that is atypical for the living room, so it causes lots of questions to get raised. We've compiled a bunch of those, and we're going to go through them in kind of a rapid-fire style. So that'll be the bulk of how we spend our time today. Before we get to that part, we want to do a couple things really quickly with you. One is to just give you kind of a high-level overview of how we see the Steam Machines project. And the other one is to talk very specifically about what just went on over the past couple weeks down at CES with our hardware partners and what the implications of that work are for things coming later this year. So that overview. We really see the Steam Machine project as an extension of the service of Steam. We see it as something that is really a feature. So we're porting Steam to a new room in the house. And our customers have been asking us to do this for a long time, and we like to just say that finally you can have this seamless transition where Steam is in that room in the house. You've got the games that you love as an end user, and really without compromises, you can play the entire Steam catalog. So we think of it as a Steam update. It's an extension of that service, as I said, and just like we update Steam on the software side all the time, it seems like more than once a day sometimes, this really is an outgrowth of that service. And we want it to make Steam more valuable and make all of your games more valuable and thereby make your customers and our customers happier. So as we've been working on that, we've really seen it as a three-part prospect. We like to break things into more accomplishable sub-goals a lot of the time when we're working through a large problem. And we gain a ton of confidence by shipping those things to customers and making them public rather than bundling a bunch of work up into something that's monolithic and then waiting until it's all ready as a package to ship it out to customers. So doing that with the Steam Machines project, working on the operating system and seeing it as a parallel effort to the controller, and same way that it is parallel to coordinating with a bunch of partners about what kinds of PCs make sense as living room form factor PCs, has made a ton of sense to us. And we started that work, back with big picture as a user interface, and then it spun up these other efforts in parallel, and our really feeling fortunate to be able to put those one at a time into customers' hands and test out all these things as we go, so that we're more sure that once we get to later in this year, when people are actually plunking down a bunch of money to extend Steam into their living room, that we've got an offering that really is pretty valuable.
So as Greg mentioned, we just came back from CES. And at CES, we were talking about our hardware partners who will be shipping Steam machines in 2014. We announced 14 different partners, and we're really excited about the set of machines that was announced at the show. Our goal for the Steam Machines project has always been to offer customers choices in the living room, and for them to be able to really find the Steam machine that fits them as a gamer. So there are machines up here for the customer who wants to spend the money to have the most powerful gaming PC they can in the living room. There are other machines that serve customers who care more about size or who care more about price. And some of these boxes we think have really hit the sweet spot of that price-performance trade-off, meaning that they'll serve a large number of Steam customers in 2014. So we want to take a few minutes and talk about a couple of these machines in a little more detail. One of the ones that we're really excited about is the machine being built by the team at Alienware. So I'd like to invite Mark Diana from Alienware up on the stage and tell you a little bit about their project.
You can hang out back here.
All right. Sing live. All right, there it is. So first off, I want to say a very big thank you to the guys at Valve. Guys, is this event awesome or what? Does this kick ass or what? Welcome to Steam Dev Days. All right. So before me right here, you can see this is the Alienware Steam Machine. This thing is going to be awesome when it launches. It's 8 by 8 by 3, very small size. This is a prototype model. This unit is actually going to be on sale in September. It kicks ass in a lot of different ways, but what I'm going to tell you about it that's really going to blow your mind is the performance and price. So it's going to be very comparable in performance to the next generation of consoles, and it's really going to have, let me move this over here so you can get a better look at it. It's really going to have the form factor that we think is perfect for the living room environment. And there's a lot of different things that go in to building a Steam machine, but most importantly, you got to have the right size, right? So we are Alienware, we're with Dell. We're able to leverage a lot of internal resources to make a product like this. And most notably, that's a motherboard, right? So in a form factor like this, with this 8 by 3 design, you definitely want to have a motherboard that's not only conducive to a living room environment, meaning it's going to draw a few power, but you want it to run cool inside the system. So my PR person would kill me if I told all you guys what was inside the system, but I can tell you that there will be an Intel-based processor, and it's going to be fast as hell. This processor is really going to rock. The graphics card that's going to be in it is going to be an NVIDIA-based GPU, and these are, well, what the hell? I'll go ahead and say it. So it's going to be a Haswell-based processor. So when you talk about the processing specs that you get with Haswell, you get specs that are far superior to the other guys out there, right? And we think that this machine is going to give you guys, as developers, an incredible amount of leeway to really accelerate your games. Because here's the thing, right? With the consoles today, you're really tapped out at 720p, 1080p, depending on what game you're playing. With a machine like this, there's nothing to stop you from hooking it up to a 2560 by 1440 monitor and having a 2x HD experience. So we think that it's really primed to hit many different market segments. In terms of where it's going to be sold, the machine is going to be global. So we plan on selling this machine from San Francisco to Tokyo to Seoul. So it's going to be sold all over the world, and we're really, really excited about it. And I think that one of the best things about partnering with the folks at Valve and these two fine people up here is that we do get the feedback, right? We get y'all's feedback, and we incorporate it. We're able to adjust things on the fly. We are not Microsoft and Sony, right? If you guys think that something should be done differently, we're going to do it different. And I think that as a Steam machine OEM, we are just incredibly excited to bring this thing to market. And when it finally hits, we do think that there's a lot of people out there who are ready for something different. A lot of the questions we get is like, hey, is this going to be competing with the next-gen console? You know, we don't really think so. The first thing we want to do, first and foremost, is give the Steam users, so 65 million people out there that you guys make games for, we want to make sure they have a turnkey experience that rocks. We want to make sure that their system they put underneath their living room, or that goes into a kid's room, or that goes into an office, that this Alienware Steam machine, we want to make sure that this thing gives them an unparalleled console-like experience for PC gaming. And I think that opens the doors to a lot of innovation. When you guys check out the controller, you're going to see the same thing. It's really incredible what Valve has done. And we're just extremely excited and happy to be one of the Steam Machine partners. And we think we're really going to kick ass with this system. And really looking forward to getting y'all's feedback. And thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk today.
Thanks, Mark. You want to hand that to Mike? Yeah.
We encourage you all to find Mark after the talk. If you ask him enough times, he will tell you exactly what's in the box and what the price is. So.
And get your cell phone recording device out when you do that. So in addition to having Mark talk about the Alienware machine, there's just one other specific category and set of machines that we'd like you to learn about. And Mike Burrows from Intel is here to talk about the Steam Machines effort as well. Hey, I can see.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
And thanks again for the continued great partnership. So people don't know so much. Gabe alluded to it in his keynote. I mean, this is a project that's been going on multiple years now. And it was a couple of years ago when we started the conversations about an open ecosystem, different form factor box. And obviously, Intel embraces open ecosystems, and particularly from the hardware side, but also from the software side. And it's great here in terms of Steam Machines and Steam OS, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this. But particularly, I mean, I don't know if everyone here knows, but Intel is one of the largest contributors to open source community before Steam OS, and obviously will continue so. We also are still the only graphics vendor who do a full, complete open source driver. And there's some benefits behind that, which you can learn more about, and just shameless plug here, at 5 p.m. today, Ian Romanek is doing a presentation on this. Now, like I said, it's not just about software, though obviously that's significantly important for me in our role in the visual computing engineering group. I mean, we deal specifically with game developers across the world. Some people know me. I've seen some very familiar faces in here and a lot more new faces, and I think that's great. Though overall, in terms of the hardware choices, as you saw at CES, I don't know if we move on to the next slide. Wonderful. I think it was 14 designs that we saw last week at CES, which is great. Every one of these designs is available with the Intel CPU in it. That's fantastic. Can we get a round of applause? Shameless plugs, why not? I picked it up from Mark. And really, it's about, it really vindicates our choice. I mean, Intel has concentrated very hard on gaming, specifically on the CPU side, but you may have noticed in the Haswell timeframe, we've actually moved that over to graphics. But I just wanted to say, well, before we just left that slide, that's OK. I want to say thank you to the OEM partners. We've been dealing with all of them for, like I said, a little time now, including Alienware. As Mark mentioned, it's got a kick-ass core processor in there as well. But there was one design partner who we worked with very closely on just to take advantage of that integrated graphics that we really have introduced a premium line of graphics actually built into the CPU. Now, there's a lot of advantages for this, and we'll see more how people take advantage of this over time. At GDC last year, there was press around the whole, Intel starting to act like a GPU company, what gives, and other wonderful quotes. And it was really about the fact that we were running high-end games, I mean AAA games like Dirt 2, not just as good as kind of mid-range integrated cards, but also using unique features that discrete cards could use. And that's because as we bring the graphics processor onto the CPU core, it gives us a lot more opportunity to do unique things. Kind of when we started bringing caches onto CPUs, we could do things much more rapidly, and kind of think along those lines in terms of as we bring the graphics cores onto the CPU, onto the main processor, it gives us a lot more opportunity. And we work closely with a couple of vendors, as I said, Alienware as well, but Gigabyte we work very closely with and designed this box. And I noticed on Tech Radar as I was reading the CES announcements, if you haven't, go read them for sure in terms of the different Steam machines. But on Tech Radar, not only did they give the award for best product to Steam machines, but the award for best Steam machine was to this little thing, which is fantastic. And the Gigabyte people are very proud of that. Given more details about this, it's Mark had dimensions. I believe, off the top of my head, it's 4¼ by 4 by 3 inches. And you'll hopefully get a chance to see one of these later. Yeah, those people who know something, but we won't mention it at the moment. Wonderful, high performance in a very small form factor. And this isn't the only type of form factor that you're going to see with Steam machines. I mean, this same processor, we have plans, and some of the OEMs haven't announced them yet, but we have plans to be multiple different form factors as well. It's not just Gigabyte, it's others as well. And then, not just different OEMs, but different form factors. As Mark was saying, in terms of small form factors, very important. In terms of what Anna was saying, in terms of the different price points. Different people have different usages for Steam machines. Some want the very small, slim, sexy, under the living room TV device. Great. Some people want a device that can fit under the TV and also is really good for LAN parties. Not that we've ever done that ourselves with prototypes, but it's really portable for LAN parties, supposedly, allegedly. We're gamers as well. But in terms of the performance behind this, it's a Core, and this machine here, it's a Core i7 Haswell processor, so that's the 4th generation. It actually is the Iris Pro graphics. So as I said, with Haswell, we actually introduced this kind of adding more and more graphics performance horsepower. And by the way, we haven't stopped yet. You'll see more next year, I'm sure, or this year about that. But in terms of that graphics performance horsepower, we branded it so users could identify it, and it's under the Iris brand. And if you can see really tiny, I don't know if you can, oh, it's actually on their screen, that's fine. The Iris Pro is even more special. Because not just does it have a significant amount of graphics compute horsepower, we also added like 128 meg of EDRAM. Now, for those fellow developers in the room, you kind of look back and think where Xbox 360 was, and that really didn't have enough. Sorry about that. I used to work for Microsoft. So, a lot of graphics performance in there, a lot of cache and flexibility with it, a lot of flexibility coming in terms of different designs over time. And this is one of the things why we really jumped with Valve and their OEM partners to embrace this open ecosystem. And really, it's in the hands of all the people here, the developers as well as the OEMs, to embrace this concept and bring on, what are the different types of form factors? Are we going to see, high-end tablets within a couple of years or something? How does this all fit together? And as Gabe was saying, we all want your feedback. I mean, we're going to be building this together. It's, a wonderful project to work together. And on that, I'll go.
Thanks.
As Greg knows, I speak too much. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
I'll talk about this in a second. So 2 more quick things. Thanks, both of you guys, for talking about those boxes. We're super excited about them and all the other Steam machines that are coming. On the Gigabyte box, you can tell we're sort of forestalling an announcement about that. Anna and I selfishly wanted you to pay attention to what we have to say before you start thinking about that announcement, so we're kind of putting it off a little bit. And the other thing that we just wanted to mention briefly is that although Mike had that box in his hand up here, and you've got a nice giant video feed over on the side, it doesn't really come through how small the Gigabyte box really is. So I couldn't help but just add a little visual explanation of exactly how small it is, just for a point of reference.
As Greg mentioned at the start, we really want this presentation to be about giving you information and answering your questions. So we have a set of questions we're going to go through that are questions we hear commonly from partners like yourselves. But as we're doing that, if you want to tweet any questions you have that we might not be covering to the @SteamDevDays Twitter account, we'll be collecting those up and answering those in a few minutes.
Yeah, so do that while we're talking, and we'll kind of race through our stuff to get to your stuff.
Yeah. So we really want to make it easy for hardware partners to be able to build Steam machines for customers. So we anticipate that there will be more announcements coming over the next few months. What we really want is an ecosystem of choices for customers. And we're pretty excited about the machines that have already been announced. We think that they meet the needs of a wide array of customers on Steam. In the future, if we think there's a piece of the market or a Steam customer that doesn't have a great option for them in the marketplace, we would work with a hardware partner or maybe build something ourselves and bring that to market. But right now, we're really focused on helping our third-party hardware partners bring those Steam machines to customers.
So there's a lot to choose from. And just to reiterate something before I get into talking about this subject, many of the things that we're covering as we go through this set of questions, we could talk at length about a lot of these topics. And so we're going to breeze through these things and not really address all the questions completely fully, but please come up to us or anybody else who's involved from Valve, and they'll direct you to the right person to get more information. But about how customers are going to understand which Steam machine is right for them, we really think that this question comes down to a simple issue, and that is that customers are smart. We have a lot of experience on Steam that reinforces that assumption, and we think that that absolutely applies even in the living room, where people often, companies often assume that it isn't safe to assume that. We think it is absolutely safe to assume that. And customers are going to have a lot of ways to make choices to figure out what is the right Steam machine for me. In part, though, we think that this is a to-do item for ourselves as platform holders, really, that we need to make sure that there's an incredible amount of transparency and tools on Steam that help people understand this landscape and what is going to be the best kind of price-performance trade-off for them. And Steam is pretty well positioned to build tools like that, being able to harvest real-world performance data from how games are running on actual hardware out in the world and pipe that through to show end users how that, what that picture looks like and compare machines. So we're in the process of building a couple versions of tools that will be as simple as we can make them, but also provide a ton of value and help people with that decision making. So as an extension to that question, people often ask, how much are you trying to control what's happening in this ecosystem? Like, 14 machines is already a lot, and we have more people, quite a few more people who are interested in making Steam machines, and they will end up bringing those to market, as Anna mentioned earlier. And we're not really conducting that in a way where we have a specific min spec or a certification program. Instead, we think that building tools for maximum transparency and customer decision-making is the right way to go about this, and that ultimately all that value that gets delivered to customers through that choice and upgradability and openness is well worth the process of going through that decision-making. There's nothing to... end users can build their own Steam machines, do whatever they want with the platform. You've got an operating system that's already downloadable for people who are brave enough to try putting something together right now. That's going to get easier and easier. The install path's going to get easier. We absolutely think that end users are going to build some of the most interesting Steam machines in the world. Can't really wait to see what comes out of that process. Another question that's more directly relevant to this audience is, as I'm building a game, how do I know which Steam machines are really the important ones that I should gear my development efforts to make sure that the owners of those machines are going to have a good experience? Kind of look at that again as the same question, but there are specific tools and transparency that we want to put in your hands so that you can understand, okay, here's the landscape, I'm going to draw the line at this point, or I'm going to choose specific machines to make sure that customers are having a good experience on those machines. And there's more data that we will be putting in to your hands, the same type of information that goes to customers, but in a more kind of robust, granular way so that you can query that data. And we're going to be working with you to design that experience just on the developer side.
We think, so the Steam controller works with any PC running Steam. It's not tied to Steam machines or Steam OS. And we think customers are going to want to have a controller either for a PC that they have now, for a Steam machine they might build, or just additional controllers for the Steam machine they might buy. So our plan is to sell the controllers separately, definitely through Steam and also at retail. And our OEM partners are also going to have controllers that they can make available at their retail channels as well. Another feature that a lot of people ask us about is in-home streaming. We've talked about it a little bit, and it's really a feature that lets you connect to any PC in your home that's running Steam and stream game content across from that. We know that our customers on Steam have a bunch of back catalog titles right now. They're running on Windows. They're probably not going to get ported forward to Linux, but they're still going to want to play those in the living room. So in-home streaming will let those customers have a Steam machine in their living room and connect to that PC running Windows in their home office and stream that game content across. Running natively on Linux will always be the best performance, but we think in-home streaming is a really good feature to access those back catalog titles. It's a feature that actually just went into beta, and we put all of you in the beta. So please check that out when you get home and send us your feedback.
So we put Steam machines into a bunch of end users' hands. It's only a few hundred, but to us it was a really meaningful step to do that. And at the same time, we sent a lot of machines out to partners, and we've been kind of piecemeal handing pieces out. And each one of those is a really useful conversation starter for us. We've been getting a lot of information back. We're harvesting a ton of data down to the level of how many button presses on the controller and latency pictures. And so there's that kind of information we're getting back, a lot of opinions about input for different genres of games with the controller, input about which features of the operating system are really more important to end users or partners than others. All these things are helping us right now make real decisions. And we feel like, I mentioned this earlier, but we really feel like it's kind of a superpower to be able to make design decisions that way instead of trying to do everything behind closed doors. So that's the process we're going through. I think the most interesting category of feedback and design changes right now are about the input setup and the controller. So we're going to go into depth. Eric Hope and John McCaskey, after us, are going to talk about what we've learned and what changes we're making as we head to high-volume manufacturing.
So we do have some things that we are planning to finish up in the OS before all the Steam machines ship this fall. And there's a couple categories of those. So some of it is around the controller, doing work on both the native API and the UI support for the controller. We're thinking a lot about other things customers want to do in the living room when they have a Steam machine, so things like music and movies and TV. And we're talking to really all the partners in that space to try and figure out what are the best experiences for Steam customers that we can ship on the platform. The other big piece for us is thinking about the non-gaming software side of Steam and how we can move that more directly into the Steam OS experience. And so part of that is UI work, but a lot of it is at the OS level, so allowing for software to be running outside the Steam experience and to have UI and features that let customers access that as it's being multitasked with Steam.
So we talk a ton about openness. We kind of throw that word around, and it means basically something different to everybody. And I think that if we really wanted to talk about why we think it's important and what we mean when we say openness, we could easily extend that to be probably multiple talks on its own. It really is a topic that's close to our heart. We think that Valve's success as a business is very much linked to the trait of an open ecosystem, an open PC, and a platform where everybody who is a consumer is also a contributor. So every node in the network, every box that's out there in the world is a potential content creation machine, an enabler for every user who's out there. And it's traditional to think of you guys as contributors to that system, and of course we do, but we extend that to every maker of PCs and really every customer on Steam. And so, to put that a little less abstractly, the things that we're building that we really think are important to extend that openness and make Steam the place that is really well poised to take advantage of that openness and deliver value to customers are things like the workshop. And every part of Steam that's more like oriented around user-generated energy and content. So manufacturers of hardware being able to ship boxes that innovate and that are upgradable, having an operating system that at a fundamental level is open source so that even the community is innovating with us on how many things the operating system can accomplish and what features it has. And even just the fact that the internet is present in its unfiltered, unfettered form on our platform, to us, we never would really want to curtail that. There's so much value, and there's so many services from streaming media to just everything that runs on the open internet that you can access on a PC, that's included in what we think is critical to the success of a platform. It's the kind of stuff that Steam gamers have come to expect, of course, because they use Steam on platforms where all those things are really possible. And Steam OS, philosophically, there's just no division between how we think about how customers have acted on Steam in the past and how we think they should be able to act on Steam in the future.
So a lot of people ask us about exclusive titles. If you as content creators should be thinking about exclusive titles for Steam machines, if Valve is going to announce something for Steam machines. We really think about it differently. Our goal with Steam machines has never been to force customers to move into the living room if they don't want to go. We keep hearing from our customers that a lot of them do want to play their content and have their Steam friends and community in the living room, but we also have a lot of customers who are really happy with their current setup and how they experience Steam right now. So we don't want to do anything with content that makes them feel like they should stop doing the things about Steam that they already love to do. That being said, we think there's content that will be sort of naturally exclusive to the Steam platform with the openness that Greg talked about and the ability for you as content creators to be able to deliver content directly to your customers whenever and however much you want. We think that there's experiences that will exist on the Steam platform that can't exist elsewhere. And then when you add to that the controller and the new types of gameplay experiences that it opens up, we do think there will be experiences on Steam and on Steam machines that customers can't find anywhere else.
So we've been talking about Linux, and in a lot of ways it's odd to even talk publicly about what's under the hood in a box that you really want people to just focus on the content and the games. So it's in some ways it's an awkward message, and in another way it's an unexpected choice for us to put so much energy into Linux, and so we get a lot of questioning about what's your thinking, how'd you arrive at that decision, and I think that it mostly comes down to the attributes that this audience is pretty well acquainted with when it comes to Linux. It's extremely powerful, it's open, it's established, so we know what we're getting. We know it's something that we can build upon pretty easily with help from others in a lot of cases. It can be tailored to just laser focus on what we need it to do. And entertainment and gaming is the most important thing that a Steam machine has to do. So we can go from top to bottom, from user experience pieces down to driver level and kernel level to make sure that everything about the operating system is doing what it should for gamers in the living room. And we wouldn't be able to do that on the platforms that we're used to participating in. We don't have access to as much of that power of the operating system. So we, as I mentioned, we've been getting help with that. Intel, AMD, NVIDIA have been a big part of working very closely with us to optimize their drivers and other pieces of the operating system to make sure that we get all that performance that we know Linux is capable of.
So our plan for launching all of this is the latter half of this year. I know it would be useful to all of you if we could give you a specific date. We don't have that yet. But as we continue to work on our plans for shipping and with our hardware partners and their plans for shipping, we'll certainly keep all of you updated on what the dates are looking like. So a lot of people ask us if we're really trying to compete with the consoles. We really see this as an update to Steam. We are trying to serve those customers who keep telling us that they want to play their games in the living room. But probably as a result of all the work that we're doing, there will be more people who come to Steam. And our growth this year has been pretty incredible. We're actually announcing this morning that the Steam platform has hit 75 million active users. So with the Steam machines launching this fall and that growing user base, we really think now is the time for you guys to start really thinking about and actively developing for Linux. There's a lot of great talks at Dev Days about that topic. There are lots of Valve engineers in the room if any of you have questions. Certainly reach out to us and let us know how we can help as you start to think about developing for the platform. And while there's no specific dev kit required to develop for SteamOS, a lot of our hardware partners like Alienware and Intel want to make hardware available to you to help with your development process. So if that's something that you're interested in and think would be helpful, please see any of us after this talk, and we can give you more details on that.
Yeah, please see specifically those two guys.
Yeah. So I think we're going to open it up to your questions.
OEMs bundling or pre-installing games with Steam machines. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so Steam machines, SteamOS, it's running off the Steam backend. So all the things that you guys are used to about being able to bundle content and give out Steam keys, you can do that with our hardware OEMs. So there'll certainly be opportunities to bundle games or pieces of game content with the different hardware platforms.
Yes, the Steam Dev Days talks are going to be recorded and available online. So we both can probably talk about how Valve is encouraging AAA developers to focus on Linux. About a year and a half ago, we started these conversations. The different parallel efforts that we talked about earlier, input, operating system, PCs, were all starting to get rolling, but we had not yet really figured out the picture of how we're going to conduct the conversations with all our partners to bring content to this platform. And at that time, we were sort of unsure about whether, although we're having a tremendous amount of success with most of our partners, whether we're going to be able to get them to bite off the kind of work that involves coming over to Linux. As the ensuing months went by, I think partners, I think it's fair to say that everybody flipped from being a wait-and-see approach to then transitioning to, okay, we get this, we want to go there with you, but you just have to tell us when. So it's not if, it's a when question. To now, with the recent milestones that we've just kind of accomplished, going down to CES and with all the kind of one-on-one visits that we've been doing, that people have now said, okay, we now understand when, and we're bringing our content, and that goes top from AAA titles to quite a few indie titles who are extremely interested in bringing their content really for around the launch time frame. What would you add?
I think the only thing I'd add is, we really want to give a lot of information to you about our hardware partners' launch plans. So all the marketing opportunities, the bundling opportunities that can really help get your game in front of customers. We're going to be talking to you a bunch, both at Dev Days and after Dev Days, about those opportunities to really help you guys make the decision to bring your games to the platform.
Yep. Third-party Steam controllers, that makes a ton of sense to us. We have a plan, sort of an event horizon that's right around the launch of commercial products in 2014. So a tremendous amount of our effort and attention is going to serve that kind of simpler picture first. And for that time frame, we really think that Valve and the Steam hardware group needs to ship the Steam controller itself, but it absolutely makes sense to us at some point to be partnering with people and maybe having hardware innovation occur in that space as well, and having end users help design the controller and innovate in that space with us. I think we covered the min specs to qualify as a Steam machine earlier in the talk. Really, there aren't any. If anybody's curious about that further, you can come talk to us.
And I think we talked a little bit about the non-gaming software piece. That's definitely something we are going to focus on between now and when things are launching later this year. So if there's any more specific questions about what we're going to do there, just see us after.
Hardware partners are Western. Are there plans to expand Steam? Oh, there's more questions down here. To Japan. Yes. There isn't really a intentional focus on working with companies that are local to us. A lot of the companies that have expressed interest but that we haven't yet announced are definitely outside of, I guess what you call the Western world. So as 2014 goes on, a lot of those are going to become more clear. let's see, are there, yeah, we kind of covered this too. So we don't have specific announcements about how those tools are going to work for cross-comparing in the ecosystem. We're going through a design process right now, and we're going to, I mean, the details of that really matter. So we know that we're going to probably be iterating on those tools quite a bit, and we need your help as well, you know, thinking through how that information should get presented to end users. We don't have a Steam tablet announcement for you today. And I guess I'll talk also about the streaming machines. So pure streaming machines really make sense to us as well. It's only development bandwidth on our side that has kept us from attacking that problem right up front and including that kind of offering with the Steam machines that we just announced at CES. To us, it would have been ideal if we also, along with those high-powered boxes like the ones that Mike and Mark talked to you about today, also had something that was an incredibly gaming-focused, low-latency streaming device that you plug into your TV, or software that runs on your TV that doesn't, you know, even involve hardware. Those devices, although there are devices in that category, there aren't ones that we think yet that Steam gamers would find adequate to really provide a good experience. So it is a hardware design challenge. It's a fairly simple one, but we just haven't tackled it yet. Absolutely makes sense. We think that's coming in the not too distant future. So just want to give you a quick set of thoughts about what we're doing aside from Steam machines. Steam Hardware Group is pretty active. They've been thinking about this effort for a long time, but they're also working on other projects. You've heard about VR. That's going on. There's quite a bit of effort being paid to virtual reality at Valve. We don't, at Steam Dev Days, have some product announcement to talk about, but we do have a lot to talk about those with regard to those efforts. So Mike Abrash is talking, and Joe Ludwig is talking about that. It's definitely an interesting topic, and there's a lot of substance and planning that they have to go over while you're here, so definitely check that out. In the other categories of Steam hardware, peripherals matter a lot, microphones, headsets. We're not really working on in-house development of those things. We are interested in working with third parties, and there's been a lot of interest from third parties about participating with us in that space. And as we mentioned earlier, third-party Steam controllers are also something that we're going to be spending some effort on, but a little bit later in the year. We need more hardware people. So we assume that a lot of you know stellar, world-class people who are, you know, things like industrial designers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers. We're doing a bunch of work in those categories. So we would love it if you could turn those kinds of people onto us, and even to the point where we would like to give you an incentive to send us your best people. So I have a Valve credit card here. And if one of you in the next month, say by Valentine's Day, sends us a candidate as a referral and we end up hiring them, I will personally buy you a copy of every game on Steam.
So I think in the description of our talk, we mentioned that there would be a prize for the best tweet or question. That seemed kind of lame, so we're just going to give the prize to everybody. We know that you would all like to get your hands on a Steam machine to check out everything that we've been talking about. Mike Burrows, luckily for him, the Gigabyte box is small. He packed 2,000 of them in his carry-on luggage.
Thank you. Go there, right there. Thank you, Mike.
Turn the mic on.
Yeah.
Mike. Can we get a mic on?
Yeah.
There we go. You stole my thunder. I was like, Gabe was mentioned as an Oprah moment, and then there was like the Steve Jobs moment. I was going to come up and say, one last thing. It's really a case that, you know, putting your money where your mouth is sometimes in terms of making real effort and working with the developers and getting these in your hands. So these things are held up exactly the same. Core i7, terabyte hard drive, the highest end graphics that we do, and Valve supplied the memory sticks with the latest version of SteamOS to just run. And the idea is we're seeding these all to you. in terms of for you to do development work on them. Okay? Not for eBay, it's for you to go do development work on. Okay? Make me that promise now. Or we won't do it again. Right, well, that was it. Thank you all. We're off again now.
So okay.
And it wouldn't be a Steam machine without a Steam controller, so if you haven't looked in your swag bag yet, there's a controller in there for everybody to take home and start playing around with as well. Thank you all for coming to our talk. Thank you for coming to Dev Days. Greg and I and these guys are going to plan to hang out after this next talk in the controller demo area. So if you have any follow-up questions about any of this stuff, just come find us or find anyone at Valve, and we'll be happy to answer those questions.
Thank you.
That's it. Thanks. Here you go.